Hello everybody and welcome back to FRS Season 5, Round 6, where we are going to be watching the Xbox Division 1 drivers taking on the historic Suzuka circuit here in Japan. Of course, this is the only figure of 8 layout on the Formula 1 calendar as well as our calendar, and we are returning to it after a hiatus last season. With 18 signature corners, only one DRS zone, the drivers are going to be having a tough time trying to overtake each other, meaning that qualifying is going to be absolutely critical, especially not to invalidate it out of the Degners. This is the only circuit on the FRS Season 5 calendar to feature just one DRS zone, as we mentioned earlier, heading into a very tricky turn, and of course it is one of the longest, second longest run for the starting grid. Of course, we have turns 1 and 2, where we have a very tricky braking zone heading into the spoon curve here, where hopefully we won't be seeing too many lockups or people running wide and invalidating their flying laps. Then we have turn 11 that occurs just after the Degners 1 and 2, another very tricky corner where you are carrying a lot of speed and having to straighten out right before a heavy braking zone. And of course, who could forget the 130R, a historic corner on the Formula 1 calendar. And, the Casio Triangle as well, before we head into the final turn 18 of this track, where you'll be starting your next lap. Of course, we're going to be seeing the hard, medium, and soft tires this lap, with the hard tires actually being a viable option this time around, where you can run very long if you start outside the top 10 on those and pit for some softs, or put on some softs at the beginning and go short to the hards all the way to the end. And as always, I am joined by Kim Rodelaz. Kim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to watch some cars spinning, like we saw in the Div 2 race. A lot of people have been struggling with practice this week, so yeah, could be an interesting one. Bit of unpredictable Suzuka.
Indeed, I feel like that was a little bit of a dig at me for what happened in the Div 2 race there earlier today.
No, I would never do that to you, Turbo. P4 is a good result.
It absolutely is, especially with a tricky track, and as you said, there's definitely going to be a lot of spinning with these curbs and how brutal they can be, as it looks like we already have one driver around, Queasy Pluto, on his outlap there in the Alfa Romeo, as we ride on board with Quimbulus, who is going to be the first one to cross the line and start his flying lap. So yeah, that's going to be something to look out for. A lot of this backwards round traffic potentially interfering with the other drivers, as we see Gloverino having to get off the track. Interesting choice for him to get onto the, as we have so many people spinning around there through the S's. But yeah,
looking at already.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to look out for traffic, especially when you come back onto the surface of the track, and not forget that your rear tires are just going to be completely overheated, and it's going to be a very sad time, especially heading into the Degner corners, where it's going to be even easier to drop it out of there if your tires are overheated, as yet another person has spun round in the Red Bull there, as Quimbulus sets the
It's a bit chaotic. I mean, we're seeing that unpredictability already. This is just the first lap of qualifying. And then to go full race distance as well. I mean, will we see? I feel like the safety car chance might be a bit high today.
Yeah,
I'm not quite 95% like last week. I'm not going to try and get carried away like that, but
it's
I feel there's a high chance.
It's definitely looking like it, and that could be a good thing for some of these guys, as qualifying here is just so crucial with only that one DRS zone, and especially when you're running through that downforce section right before it in the chicane, and coming out of it, you need that DRS just to be able to stay with the guy. It's hard to use as an overtaking opportunity, so qualifying is going to be very crucial there, as Nemesis knocks over one of the bollards there in the Casio Triangle as he runs around.
Should be disqualified. Stop bollard abuse. That lap time should be removed. It's just, the bollards, they're just doing their job.
They're just there to help people out. Yeah, and of course, some people like to use those things as reference points for their drives, as we see LC Fighter spun the wrong way around on track, getting out of the way for his teammate, who crossed the line and set a 1:28.7 for the fastest lap, as LC seems to be doing an Austin Powers gif, replication, even though he has plenty of room to turn around. So finally he's got around, and he's facing the right way as we ride on board with Brinshall in the Williams, who is Povey's teammate there.
Yeah, I mean, Povey does give Brinshall a hard time of it. It's a lot of pressure being Povey's teammate, and he will bully you, basically, if you don't get a good result. We've seen it with Jinx last year as well, personally blaming him for not winning the Constructors' Championship. So yeah, I mean, you might think it's a good thing being Povey's teammate, but let me assure you, it's a horrible time.
Yeah, I've never been on a team with him, thankfully, or else I might have lost my sanity. But yeah, he still doesn't let it go with Jinx. So the Constructors' Championship is definitely all to play for here, as Povey finally crosses the line and sets a fastest lap, beating Nemesis by almost 0.2 there on his banker lap. So we're seeing some pretty impressive times already from these guys. And yeah, that Drivers' Championship is hotly contested, especially with LC and Nemesis. Was that a little bit of a wall tap there from Brinshall, or are we just having some desync? Either way, though, yeah, I believe that right now it's separating the top 3 is going to be 28 points, both of them 14 points back from each driver. So Povey ahead by 14 for Nemesis, along with LC being behind Nemesis by 14 points. So yeah, with everybody coming back into the pits, I guess we can stay riding on board with LC, who likes to do a couple of flying laps during his banker laps, just to be able to get a decent time there as he invalidates as he goes into the pits there. It looked like he was doing another flying lap. I know he likes to do that sometimes. But yeah, they
were trying it yesterday in practices. I saw that people were underrating the cooldown push, so we could see it maybe the second go at it. We've obviously not seeing it here, as everyone pitted, and it's quite quick turnaround, everyone. To be honest, everyone's just trying to get their laps over and done with. Some people would rather just get this race over and done with and move on to Bahrain.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a fun track for those who are on the pad, and even for racing, it can produce not exciting racing with people getting stuck behind one another. But I mean, it makes the qualifying interesting, at least, even if the pad players have to suffer through 1.5 hours of Suzuka. But yeah, I'm here. I'm enjoying it so far, even though we're only 8 minutes in now, as we're coming up to the halfway point for qualifying. But yeah, it's a good track, and especially with online racing, that whole factor of safety is removed, so you don't have to worry about crashing too much. So you're more likely to go wheel to wheel, and it actually can produce some good racing if you try and go for it, which hopefully we'll see during the race, as Cameron Slater is going to cross the line and set a 1:30 behind his teammate Queasy Pluto, aka Speedy Boy.
I'd like to see someone like contest the typical top 3, the Barrys, really, because let's just look at the 3 of them and compare to everyone else. We've got a bit of we've got like a 7/10 gap from 3rd to 4th. So if someone can get in the mix there, it would be much appreciated. We don't want to have the Barry dominance taking over FRS.
Yes, that would be much appreciated.
It must stop, the Barrys there. Yeah. Out of control this year.
Soon we're going to have to start paying some esports drivers to come in here just to be able to humble these guys a little bit as they get a little bit too cocky. But at least it's making for a nice... Spin has retired. Looks like he has spun out and, well, he's Spin.
First victim.
Yeah, first victim there through the S's. And that's definitely... It's one of those deceptive corners that he spun out at, because when you're coming up the hill, some of those corrections kind of come out of nowhere as you're trying to floor it, absolutely, and it can upset that balance of your car and just easily send you for a ride. So thankfully he has a 1:29.6. He has a couple of people behind him, a couple of people who haven't set laps yet, so he's sitting all right for now. And also interestingly, we only have 12 drivers, so we might see, if you just finish the race, you'll end up with points, as I'm sure we'll be able to see a couple of people get some potential points.
Doing me in Baku when I just jumped in for a race at the start of the season. Just all you got to do is finish, and I don't even know where I came. 9th, I think it was. Just obviously only 9 cars finished, but that's not my problem. Got 2 points, and they never got added to the standings because, well, I mean, whoever's the Div 1 coordinator is clearly incompetent at their job and can't do the standings properly.
In his defense, and this again, I don't know why I'm being an apologist for Povey, because he makes up many excuses, but you are in Div Kemp, so it's kind of hard to combine the two standings together. But we
I'd like to apologise to Povey for that one. It's my bad.
We're riding on board with LC, who had a little bit of trouble coming out of the actual spoon curve. I was referring to turn 1 and 2 as a spoon curve, but coming out of the actual spoon curve, he dropped it again, so it looks like this might not be his weekend. Hopefully he can get a good qualifying and have something to show for with that. But yeah, he looks to be struggling out there right now at this track. So looking forward to Bahrain with these guys, especially with how competitive LC has been in time trial mode. And we know that Brenshall is rapid there.
LC. Nah, I couldn't imagine LC doing time trial. This seems like nonsense.
Yeah, I actually did confirm with him that he just loves to go and check it before he goes to bed to make sure that he's at the top of the leaderboards before he goes to sleep. But
ego problem.
Speaking of fastest laps, we can go ahead and take a look at the previous polls here. Of course, we didn't race here last season in Season 4, just like we didn't at Canada. So the pad players are a little bit excited about that. It looks like LC's having a back out now on his lap. But we had Cryptic F1 taking the pole in Season 3, Fast Driver in Season 2, and, of course, our favorite, Boomy. Boomy in Season 1 taking pole. So we've seen his name there a couple of times. I wonder what this guy's like. But yeah, should be good to meet him one time. But yeah, so...
Let's just take... Sorry, I was saying, let's just take a look at the top two, the difference in the top two here. It's not very much, is it?
No, it absolutely isn't, which is insane. These guys are just on a different level. We bring it up every time, but they truly are just on a different level and skill set. Yeah, it looks like Nemesis has invalidated his lap, and Povey's on a flyer now.
Anissa has broken the typical big three as well.
Yeah,
put in the fourth driver into the 128.
Yeah, he's
first
splitting up the Astons there.
Yeah, the first of Div 1.5 to make it in to the 128s. Yes, so is there a Div 1.5 championship? It feels like it's only fair.
I think
get in the minis champ.
There definitely should be. We'll look into that next season. Although there's rumors that there might be some crossplay, so hopefully, if that's true and if the crossplay is good, then we'll be able to have Povey and Nemesis and LC get humbled by the other aliens on the PC and PlayStation sides like Mako and Fraser and Spike. So yeah, hopefully that happens because I'm tired of this dominance. LC is just always winning races, and it needs to stop. We need new winners up there.
Well, the big three are back together again because LC has overtaken us to go back into P3. A better lap from LC. He did nearly. It was a weird line at the end, going near enough into the pit wall to crossing the line onto the grass. So, but I shouldn't doubt it. If he's probably done enough time trial, he knows exactly what he's doing. So if he's doing it that way, then I've got to just assume it's the right way.
Yeah, he should easily qualify in the top 3 with how much time he's put into it. If he hasn't, then I think that'd be a sad day for him, and he'd realize that all of that hard work was for nothing. But yeah, you live and let live, I guess. Speaking of qualifying, I'm just trying to transition this to the explanation for the missing Ferrari driver there. Yeah, so some sad news for the Tifosi. Hobbs fan Nick is not with us today as he suffered some injuries trying to rescue, I believe it was 10 children from a house fire.
I heard it was 12.
Yeah, oh, that's right, yeah, 12.
And there was a pet store above it as well. It was just heroic.
Yeah, extremely heroic. So unfortunately, he won't be able to race with us today as he's recovering. So, Nick, we're wishing you a speedy and quick recovery so you can get back out here and taking the fight to the top 5. So yeah, best of luck for you on your road to recovery. Hopefully, he'll be back next week for some Bahrain action, as I just can imagine that it's going to be extremely close throughout the entire grid there.
We should take a moment of silence as well, just to really just to pay our respects to a Canadian hero.
Definitely, and it's so strange too that a fire would happen in the towards the end of winter up there as it's cold. But anyways, I mean, it's just facts with Turbo, I guess. So what better way to transition while we're in a lull right now, waiting for people to start their final flying laps, than some facts with Kim.
I'd just like to apologise to everyone in advance. Just this week, Japan's crazy. They're incredible, really. So everyone knows about the Japan having a suicide forest that's been named the perfect place to die.
We maybe don't have to talk about that one, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll just skim through that one. I'm just honestly just on spendlifetraveling.com. Not the best advertisement. There are more pets than children. So because the birth rate is so low, more adult diapers are sold than baby diapers. So yeah, a Japanese survivor of the Titanic was called a coward when they went back home for not dying with the other passengers. There's a lot of deaf ones here.
Yeah, these are some sad ones.
Pretty sad ones. Yeah, Japan needs to get a grip, really.
Yeah.
Non-deaf related one. Let's just. I'll stop with all the deaf related ones then.
That would be nice.
Around 24 billion pairs of chopsticks are used in Japan each year. So just a few then. 685 kids were rushed to hospitals in Japan in 1997 after an intense Pokemon episode caused dizziness, vomiting, and seizures. So where can we find it? Got to check it out.
Yeah. So after bringing the mood
really
down,
sad place.
Yeah. After bringing the mood
everyone.
down, we'll focus our attention back on the good parts of as Issei seems to have been stopped on the side of the track there. But MJ Povey currently on a flying lap, already 2/10 up. That's absolutely insane. We might be looking at a sub 128 qualifying lap here. Yeah, so that's something something to think about. Anyways, Povey setting a purple sector 1 there as he's going to be coming up towards the end of sector 3 or end of sector 2 here, and Nemesis is not too far behind. There was talks, or not talks, but there is the potential for a nice little tow heading into 130R, as you only have one DRS zone here, and it's pretty powerful, but it's also a very tricky one to time. So it looks like we haven't seen that from actually from any of these teams so far. As Povey is coming up to cross the line, we're going to see what kind of time he's able to post, and if anybody's going to be able to take it down as he improves nearly 2/10.
It's going to be a close one.
By 128.
It's going to the line here.
As Nemesis is coming around now.
Quite up. It's going to be tight.
He's going to cross, and he improves, but does not do enough to be able to take Povey. So now everything lies on LC, who it looks like he's not going to be able to do anything, as I see his ERS lights flat. Yeah, 6 seconds up. We still do have Quimulus, who's on a flying lap, along with Speedy Boy. So as it looks like Quimulus as well has his ERS lights on. So we take a look at Queasy Pluto, who's across the line, and that is going to be it for the standings there. So
nice and anticlimactic. Nothing happened.
Yeah, Povey doing a nice job to improve his time, but and Nemesis too, but it just wasn't enough from Nemesis. So this is going to be extremely interesting for the race, because yeah, it's extremely hard to overtake, so the start's going to be important. You can easily lose a race at the start, can't win one there. and then how the strategy is going to play out. I also haven't taken a look at the chat to see if there's going to be any kind of rain happening in the race, but I
can confirm that it's a dry one.
Okay.
It's a dry one.
Okay,
Just
so
your favourite meteorologist is here. It's a dry one.
So yeah, it'll be a dry race, which means that the strategies will be an extremely important one, and especially with those hard tires being extremely viable, a viable race strategy. We might see a pretty big undercut, and we might even see some team orders come to play here, with LC possibly going for an undercut to harass Povey a little bit, back Povey up and let Nemesis overtake him. Lots of things could happen here. So, and with only 12 drivers, only 2 people are going to be on a free tire choice. However, we should note that Queasy Pluto, Speedy Boy, has set his fastest time on the medium tires. So, yeah.
Yeah, he did. He did back-to-back medium pushes and set his fastest lap on the second one. So, not too bad. Got some pace in the tank. Obviously, with the differential between the softs and the mediums. So, probably one to look out for in the race, unless there's an early safety car or ruining his strategy completely and sending everyone onto the hards.
Yeah, and like you said, that safety car is highly likely.
Imminent.
Yeah, with these death curves, these auto spin curves. So we're gonna have to keep our eye out for that. Amazingly, in the Division 2 race, we didn't see any safety cars, but we did definitely see a lot of spinning and a lot of front wing changes. So who knows, with a fuller grid, race control might be more eager to throw out a safety car or a virtual safety car, and that might be to the benefits of some or others. But yeah, this race should most likely be a one-stop race, barring any kind of shambles. So we could see softs to mediums. That's doable, a bit challenging, but doable. And then the more likely one, the soft to hard. So gonna be interesting, very interesting. And also for the 2 drivers outside the top 10, which I believe was Death Star, who didn't set a time, and I can't remember who was P11 already. But
let's just guess. We obviously don't know. I'm gonna go Cameron Slater is my guess.
I believe it was an Alfa Romeo. Yeah, and we know that Queasy Boy was in the top 10 there. So yeah. It looks like these guys are still trying to get their setups loaded and figure out their strategy. As we're trying to buy more time now. I don't know if there's a lobby problem going on.
I think they're just waiting for the ready. Someone always does it prematurely, but everyone's just waiting. Spends asking when is he allowed to ready up. No one's answered him, so just go for it then. If everyone's just going to air him completely, then he should be good to go. I'm going to make a big prediction. Last week, I obviously nailed it, saying LC was going to win because of Povey's downfall, which we obviously saw in the last lap in Canada. This week, get ready for this. Big prediction here. I think Povey's going to win. I know, the pole sitter. I've really stuck my neck on the line with this one. But yeah, I'm going for a Povey win.
Looking back at the standings right now, Povey's really having a championship drive, if we're being honest. I mean, kid's absolutely rapid, but he has only taken first and second, so he's kind of replicating Max Verstappen's drive from this last season here. And looking forward, there is 14 points separating Nemesis and Povey, and I believe that there is going to be 129 points left on the table, if I did my math right. So there's a lot of points left on the table, but they're starting to run out, and with how consistent Povey has been, he has absolutely been on it. It's something to look out for. I think that this could be a pretty important race for these drivers looking forward, as we're finally loaded back in for the formation lap
racing
now. But yeah, there's a lot on the table here. This is a pretty critical race, more than what we'd expect. otherwise.
So for the strategies, obviously I've only got 2 cars to tell you about because there's only 2 cars outside the top 10. Cameron's on mediums and just spun into the barriers.
Povey spun round.
Yeah, everyone's spun. He's joined. Cameron's followed him behind. So, yeah, I mean, is he? I feel like Povey, just let everyone see, like, oh look, I can make mistakes too. But I'd rather him spin on the first lap than the formation lap. So
yeah, that was poorly timed on Povey's part there. Would have much rather.
He should do better.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, the strategies: Cameron on the mediums, Death Star on the softs, and obviously Queasy Pluto Speedy Boy is on the mediums, so starting in 7th. So he's the one to look out for the alternate strategy. Really, he's leading the pack of 2, and praying for not have an early safety car, which with the 2 people spinning by the time we got to the end of the first sector. I feel like the percentage is slowly creeping up a bit.
We could go ahead and take a look at the previous wins as well, since we saw the poll. Of course, the heroic Hobbs fan Nick winning in Season 3. A huge Suzuka fan because of that, and I can't blame him. It was a mega drive from him. Then we had Povey in Season 2 and Nemesis in Season 1. So 2 of the guys currently on the grid there who can add yet another win to their name here at this track. But I don't know. With how these guys have been during qualifying and the formation lap,
it's unpredictable.
It's extremely weird. I don't know what to expect anymore at this point. Hopefully a good race. That's all I'm going to be hoping for.
Yes, that's all we're looking for. No mention of time penalties at all. And for Nemesis, he'll want to get like a clean win, because in Season 1 Japan, he didn't deserve that. On the last lap, Boomy spun around and he got handed the win. Boomy's chance to have a win actually from pole, of course he hasn't got any, and that's why he left probably. Couldn't handle the fact. He was ashamed.
Yeah, finally the cars are around. Yeah, we haven't seen anybody convert a win from pole, so that could be something else that happens today. We might see someone who isn't Povey on the top step, as we have
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
As we have 5 red lights, a terrible camera angle, and they're off. Yeah, okay, there we go. Finally, they're going, and we get a proper camera angle. Povey is able to pull out. He gets a very good start as he's starting to form a gap to the 2 Aston guys behind there. And it looks like everybody's made it through cleanly so far, as we can see that predicted pit stop strategy coming up there, soft to hards or soft mediums. I really don't think the 2-stop strategy is too viable here, as we see it. Oh, I thought we were going to see a little bit of contact there between Spin Wolf and Cameron Slater, but Spin dropping back after not putting in much, or after DNFing out of qualifying there. Meanwhile, we see Death Star Null on the back of Golly there, as the pit stop strategy
Death Star
now changes again to a 1-stop after listening to me, I guess. As we have some cars ghosted. It looks like Death Star, it looks like, is absent. Yeah, it looks like that's why he never set that qualifying time, was because he wasn't around. So we're riding around with just 11 drivers now. So points are definitely doable for everybody, so long as you make it to the end of the race. As Povey has already formed a 4/10 of a gap to Nemesis behind, but importantly, the front 2 guys are not pulling away like we saw last week in Canada, where they were already 3 seconds ahead by the end of lap 2. So nice job for everybody else being able to keep up with them.
And Queasy Pluto is 4th on the mediums, starting in, was it 7th?
Yeah.
He's made his way all the way up to 4th, as the top 2 battle out once again.
Yeah, it looked like Nemesis had a good run, and that's something else that we never really talked about or brushed over, is the setups here. It's all about compromise here, kind of similar to Baku, where you want a lot of downforce for the S's, for all the high-speed, medium-speed corners, but you can also gain a ton of time by stripping off some downforce and just going for a tuning setup that is top speed focused. So it'll be interesting to see exactly who's got what fixed to their cars I would imagine a lot of people going for the high downforce setup, seeing that it's pretty easy to defend through here, but yeah, that's going to be something that we have to keep an eye on as this predicted pit stop strategy keeps popping up annoyingly.
They gotta let you know. Everyone needs to know when the pit stops are gonna be. It's the most important part of the race.
Yeah, finally these guys are starting to pull a little bit of a gap now to LC behind, but they're still sticking with him as LC puts in a purple sector too, so he's obviously still wanting to hang on with him and be a good teammate and try and throw something at Povey. So we'll have to keep that in mind as that thing comes up again. So
yeah, he's got a good run, Nemesis. I feel like in Canada I said run about 25 million times, and it's the key this week really. It's obviously a hard track to overtake in, so it's either getting a good run out of the corner or forcing the driver in front of you to make a mistake really. And when you've got MJ Povey, the back-to-back champion in front of you, it's quite hard to force him into a mistake really, but you never know here, and Nemesis is putting the pressure on.
Yeah, Povey, he's looking a little weak on that formation lap, so he might be a little bit nervous and be feeling that pressure behind, as LC has already dropped out of DRS range from Nemesis. So they are starting to pull that gap now, these front two drivers, but man, they are always just stuck together like glue. It's so insane how competitive these guys can be, and it really does remind me of the Season 2 championship between Povey and Fast 6, where they were just always miles ahead, lapping the field, but still separated by only tenths. So this time around, Nemesis is going to have that DRS as they're coming up to 130R, and is Nemesis going to have to back out of it as he's trailing so close?
Not even using his battery as well.
Yeah, Povey using that downforce setup, and it looks like Nemesis has just stripped a little bit more wing off than Povey, as he's only 3/10 back, so he should easily be able to get this overtake done, as of course Povey is going to go defensive now on the inside, and Nemesis comes up close, and they're going to be going side by side. Nemesis doesn't really leave too much room for Povey, but then again, we were kind of on some bad angles there, or at least I was on a bad angle riding on board with him. So yeah, Nemesis able to get that move done, and more importantly, LC Fighter has now caught up to them, as we have a car that's spun round of Issei.
Oh, no way. Oh, this is incredible. Who would have thought? if you had it on your bingo, who was going to be the first to spin? Well, I don't want to say it, but it might have been the most predictable one.
Yeah, he's
our native spinner.
He's rapid. He reminds me of Palantir. Pretty rapid, but he's prone to spinning out every now and then. So if he's able to string it together, and we've seen him in qualifying, he was there in the top 3 at one point, so he definitely has the pace, but he just needs to be able to string it together, and then podiums could be his. So yeah, but yeah, more importantly, before that spin, I was mentioning how LC Fighter was within DRS range, as it looks like Povey has just dumped his battery, as the ERS lights on his car are already on. So Povey is struggling to keep up with Nemesis. This might be, if Nemesis is able to get outside of DRS range, he should pretty easily be able to cruise to victory.
It's a key. We're in a key time as LC has.
Oh, LC going in for the undercut. LC is pitting in pretty early.
He might be forcing Povey into an early stop here. We're seeing some team tactics, because no front wing change, so it wasn't damage related. Yeah. So yeah, it'd be an interesting one. You got to decide now for Povey. It's the big decision. Are you kind of forced to pit here, or do you play the long game and go for the fresher tyres at the end to re-overtake?
Yeah,
but it might be forcing. This might be a key point. This might be giving Nemesis the win already. Obviously, it's 5 laps in, but you never know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the spins have been minimal, so the strategy could be pretty huge. And interestingly enough, LC fitting the medium tires. So I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's doable, but he was good if Povey goes long. If Povey chooses to go long, then LC is just going to be just at the will of the tire gods, really, because those medium tires, are going to be completely shot by the end of this race. So, very interesting choice here, and we're going to have to see how Povey is going to react as they come to
1.4
Casio Triangle.
behind. So he's already out of DRS range. I think he's staying out. He's staying out.
Opts to stay out, yeah.
Interesting tactic. We'll see how that plays off at the end. LC is really pushing it as well. He's got clean air, so he can really go for it. The nearest car in front of him is obviously 8 seconds away, and that is Issa, who we all know what happened to him. So yeah. But Nemesis has really got the pace. He's been released into the clean air with the overtake into turn 1, and is already nearly 1.8 seconds in front. And what's that, in 2 laps?
Yeah, 1 lap. Yeah, just in 1 lap. Starting the 2nd lap now. So, yeah. Elsewhere in the field, though, we do have a little battle going on between P5 through P7 here. With Gloverino being able to keep up on the back of Golly Mooms, but Spin, who had a pretty bad start there, spinning out, doing a great job to have a pretty fantastic recovery drive for the time being, as he's putting a lot of pressure on Gloverino right now in the McLaren now.
We should give a shout out to Queasy Pluto as well. He's keeping pace with the cars in front. He's somehow made it into P3 on the mediums and is in a good position. If he can stay there, keep the pace up, he's in a good position at the end to push on the softs.
Yeah, and it might be kind of, I guess he will get the free air once the guys ahead of him pit, but it could be a catch-22 for him as well. With his medium tires dying and everybody else being able to catch up to him quicker. So, that wasn't the catch-22, excuse me. It was, what exactly was it? It was not being able to react with the cars ahead, with the cars with him. So if he had started, or if he qualified on the softs, he'd be able to react with the guys around him. But starting on the mediums, he's able to go longer, but he kind of forces himself into that strategy because, we saw LC pitting on lap 5, and I'd expect that we'd see some of these guys getting off their tires at lap 9. So the soft tires just don't really last long here. So Queasy kind of boxed himself in, but he definitely has a chance, especially if he gets a late safety car, to be able to possibly win this race, potentially.
So LC on the last lap was a whole second quicker than Povey. So where the gap was around that mark anyway, wasn't it? So we have to presume if Povey was to pit right now, it would come out behind LC. So it's kind of, at the moment at least, it's kind of trapped, because with the tyre differential being like minimal if he decides to pit now, and obviously losing position, he's kind of forced to go long. And in fact, we could be at the point where LC might be leading this race once Nemesis and Povey pit, if the differential is that substantial between him and the 2 leaders.
Yeah, it is a short pit lane, granted, so I think the pit stop will cost you about 20 seconds or so, as we see these guys starting to come into the pits now. Looks like Spinwolf and Golly Mooms are going to try the undercut, or I guess Spin is going to try the undercut on Gloverino, and Golly as well is going to box this lap as well. So we're seeing people starting to come into the pits now when we predicted. But yeah, LC he's overtaken them. He's only 23 seconds behind the leaders of this race. So.
Yeah, he took 6/10 that lap as well. So even though the gap's going down, it's still 1.6 seconds plus whatever time he gained coming out the pits, obviously, since that lap was a 150 something.
Yeah, we have Golly and Spin opting for the mediums, and that's a strategy call I like more than LC's for pitting that early, but I don't know. I didn't really test the medium tires here. I just kind of knew that the hard tires were the one, and so I could be wrong too. Those mediums could easily go the distance, and I would be looking like a fool, but anyways, right now the closest battle on track is between Brinchell and Cameron Slater. Brinchell's been trying to make some inroads these past couple of laps, but not really making anything of it so far. He's been hovering in 5/10 for all these, past 3 laps or so. But thankfully, he does have a tire advantage, but he needs to be using that tire advantage to the Alfa Romeo ahead of him.
I'd say it's a bad time to be on the softs. At this point, Cameron is probably on the preferred tyre, and Brenshaw will be considering pitting. Nope.
A little bit of hesitation, it looked like.
What do I know?
It did look like a little bit of hesitation as Quimbulas and Issei are coming into the pits now as well. Issei in the pits... or no, he didn't have a front wing change. Okay, yeah, that's correct. He just spun around.
Yeah, just a clean spin.
Yeah, as those guys change for the medium tires now. And up ahead, Nemesis is starting to pull a really nice gap to MJ Povey. And he is just running in clean air. He's not going to have to worry about traffic as well with everybody coming into the pits. So, and this being a longer lap in terms of distance. So there's lots of room for the back markers, I guess you could say, to avoid being in front of Nemesis. So, yeah, this is pretty optimal for Nemesis, especially with his teammate choosing that alternate strategy there, choosing those medium tires and going for just an absolutely mega undercut there. As we'll go ahead.
Yeah, another 6 tenths at that for LC, and more importantly, he's not really using his battery at all compared to the top two. He's still on 70%. If you compare that to Povey, who's on 5%, so it shows you the difference there. He's gaining all the time, and not really using any life in his battery. As the top two head into the pit lane.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to keep an eye out. LC is coming up to 130R now, behind Death Star, and he might just be hovering behind this AI to try and get some DRS on the straight there, as indeed he overtakes Death Star heading into Casio Triangle.
That's the DRS.
So we're gonna have to see where these guys end up, as we can see them making their way down the lane, and it looks like the Aston boys timed that perfectly as LC Fighter undercuts massively MJ Povey and comes out ahead. And so we're looking for essentially an Aston Martin 1-2 as the drivers ahead of them haven't pitted yet. Although we should keep in mind as well that both Cameron Slater, both Alfa Romeo drivers, are on the medium tire, so they're on the alternate strategy now. But that undercut has worked out huge for LC, and even if he ends up P3, he is doing a mega job for Nemesis to help him win this race, as he's going to be holding up Povey on those fresher mediums that Povey has fitted now. Wow, that worked out absolutely brilliantly from the Aston driver there.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the pipeline, wasn't it? We just weren't sure where LC would end up, well, provisionally, whether it be in P1 or 2. And didn't quite get P1, but he's put himself in the perfect position to try and do some like Sergio Perez defending in Abu Dhabi. You just got to keep Povey behind him as long as he can, and as long as laps go by, he's going to have a good chance now, Povey, to overtake. But as the laps keep on counting down, it will play into Nemesis' hand more and more.
As Brinchell heads into the pits now too, so
finally puts his tyres out of his misery.
Everybody's been through the pits that need to be through the pits. We'll keep an eye out on Cameron Slater and Queasy Pluto ahead. But yeah, Povey just abusing his battery, and so he's not going to be able to keep up. Or he's not able, to overtake LC for the time being. Povey definitely seems like he has the pace, as they got pretty close there. Might have had some contact. Looked like LC ghosted, but yeah, this is a huge mega job from LC. Although Nemesis needs to start getting a move on, and maybe these medium tires haven't really quite come up to temp yet for Nemesis. As I wonder
if he backed off to let LC in his DRS range. That could have been an option, because it definitely helped him down the straight. It would have been quite vulnerable without it, as Povey goes for a dive. It's contact.
There's contact there, and how is Povey's front wing there? We saw him clip that right end plate, or rather Povey stick that right end plate next to LC's rear left tire, but it looks okay for the time being, but that's mega there. That's going to hurt him big time. We see Cameron Slater round there, thankfully not interrupting anybody, but yeah, so Queasy Pluto, Speedy Boy is the only one on the alternate strategy now.
Yeah, it was a bit of a half-assed, tentative lunge from Povey, wasn't it? It was never really going to work, and we're definitely seeing Nemesis back off to get in the DRS range, aren't we?
Yeah.
He's playing the team game. He could be far the road, I suspect, which is he's playing the clever team game.
Yeah, this could definitely probably be a way of Nemesis repaying the favor for LC for taking that massive undercut, knowing that LC is going to be absolutely exposed come the end of this race when his tires are near the end of their life and Povey has a bit more pace in him. So there might just be a little bit of gratitude back. Nemesis, I mean, how many times is he going to be able to keep doing that without being under threat from Povey? Because Povey is surely going to be able to at least have a couple of chances to overtake LC, as we can see Nemesis potentially putting the hammer down now, as he's already gapped.
I think he pushes and then backs off on the straight. And it's you've got to play a careful game, because we've got to remember, as they're fighting again.
Yeah, they're fighting, and we saw Povey have a little bit of contact, try a bit of a different move, and they're going to go side by side. LC wants to tuck in there, but oh my goodness, this is some good racing. Like I said, we weren't expecting, or people don't expect good racing here, but when you take out that real-life factor of safety, you don't have to worry about car damage, then it becomes a little bit different, and you're willing to send it where you normally wouldn't see it happen in real life, as Povey is out of battery, and he's just going to be left exposed, as LC has nearly over 50% battery, will be getting DRS from Povey, and it should be
playing it tactical,
easy overtake again. So if I was Nemesis, this would be the time to drop the hammer. That's LC on his own there, and LC is going to be sitting very well as he looks to make the move on Povey. Easily breezes by there. Easily.
So as I was going to mention before, Povey went for the lunge again. Nemesis got to be careful, because he's not actually the leader of this race at the moment. It's Queasy Pluto, and he can't afford to keep on backing off, because it's giving Queasy Pluto, or it's giving him more room at the end of the race to fight on the soft tyres. So it's kind of like you want to help out your team as much as you can, but you also need to win this race for the championship.
Yeah, and another thing too is that LC, again, I don't know exactly the team orders, but I would imagine that LC did that massive undercut to help Nemesis. So it kind of helping Nemesis trying to help LC kind of defeats that whole purpose of why LC pitted so early in the first place. So yeah, I definitely would imagine that Nemesis just needs to drop the hammer and start getting ahead and start worrying more about Queasy Pluto and where he's going to come out, like you mentioned. But further down the field, we do have a battle unraveling between Quimulus and Cameron Slater as they're coming up to the spoon curve. Quimulus has just been tucked in behind Cameron for the time being. Of course, Cameron being on older used tires and especially a bit more abused with that spin that he had coming out of the spoon corner, I believe. We saw as we see someone else go around there. I believe that is Brinshill possibly in the Williams.
Povey's teammate is around. And Povey is... I'm just not sure he's got enough time to get it with the battery. The massive battery differential, it's really costing him. And every lap this keeps on going on is more time lost to Nemesis in front, who obviously is, I'd say, done helping LC now. He needs to focus on his own race and pull out as much gap as he can.
Yeah, there's a couple of good battles going on. It looks like Brencho heads into the pits probably for a front wing change there. But yeah, there's some good battles going on track. But since these guys are leading the Drivers' Championship, this is going to be one that we focus on. Although, Quimulus back there with Cameron Slater looked to have a move get done, but he was just out of battery. And it looked like he might be running a bit more wing than Cameron Slater, so the DRS a bit less effective than it could be. As Povey is looking again on that gearbox, it's something that he's starting to get familiar with now, and might drop by the Williams engineers and say, hey, this is how they're doing it back there at Aston, as I'm sure that picture's just burned into his memory now, knowing that, he could have potentially avoided that. I mean, if you were in Povey's situation and you saw LC pit that early on, what would you have done, Kim?
Well, I kind of think he forced him to pit. At that point, he's obviously not in an ideal position to win this race anymore, so you kind of had to cover that off, and that's where the disadvantage is not having a teammate in there. So obviously we see with Mercedes, you've got Hamilton and Bottas and Red Bull as...
still Povey's round! He looked to make a move heading into turn 2 there, and the gap just wasn't really ever there, or LC just didn't see him.
No, it was never on. The problem he's got is he's now coming up the pack of like 4 cars.
Yeah.
It's going to 8 this pack, so I think he'd probably get away with damage. It didn't look like not major damage at least. So yeah, I mean that's put the cat amongst the pigeons.
That's huge as LC's gone round. Oh my goodness! Wow. So this is good for Nemesis ahead, but man, this is just wow. This is something else for this race now.
Yeah, he's gone for the sympathy spin. We don't know if he made any contact, so we have to check the wings.
Yeah, but like you said,
Tate's all right.
There was that pack that's caught up to them now, and I would imagine that they're going to be able to, as Povey finally gets that move done.
Yeah, I think he might have. It looks
LC there.
It could be damage here for LC. He doesn't quite look as fast as he once was, but Nemesis just gone. Cheers, lads.
Yeah, LC.
I guess I'll go now. Yeah, LC's got.
LC having to back out there through 130R. So, is he going to be able to pit with everybody coming through?
Going like 3 wide behind him.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
into the pits, disaster. It went from a near enough guaranteed podium to that, and who's it benefited apart from Nemesis? Queasy Pluto.
Yeah,
he's just minding his own business at the front.
Yeah,
and is now there's a 21 second gap between him and Povey. So when he does come out, he's obviously going to have fresher tyres on the softs, and yeah, he's going to be one to look out for, maybe even a potential P2 and first podium.
Yeah, if he comes out behind Povey, he'll have that tyre advantage, but I don't think he would currently with the pace that he has, the gap that he has. I think he has enough to be able to stay out ahead of Povey once he comes into the pits. So yeah, this could be pretty detrimental to Povey in the standings, having his rival gain 10 points on him, only maintaining a 4-point lead heading into Bahrain in round 7. So that is huge. And even though LC is out of the fight and currently out of the points,
Queasy Pluto is pitting now and has sped into the pit lane.
Oh, that's gonna be absolutely huge.
Killer. It's killer. I thought initially this was a bit early to pull the trigger, and the 5-second penalty is just going to kill him.
Thankfully, he will have that tire advantage, and he does indeed come out ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's not even that close really. So now he's suddenly got to find a 5-second gap to the back-to-back champion with tyres that a bit. I think it's a bit early. A little bit early. It's 10 laps, so at the end of the race, the differential's not going to be great. Yeah. And since he's obviously going to have to push quite a bit as well to get that 5-second gap.
Yeah, he will, and he has the pace. He definitely does, because we saw him being able to keep up with the guys in front earlier on in the race with those mediums, and he was making great inroads on those tires. But yeah, 10 laps is gonna be a nightmare for these softs. They'll be begging for their life come the end of this race. So yeah, this is gonna be something that we have to keep an eye out on, and that 5-second time penalty might have been his undoing for that. And interestingly enough too, Quimbulas looking at his first podium, I believe, for this season, if he's able to keep up with these guys, which would be big for him, as there's a car round there.
And shortcutting the track. And it just comes out in front of Gloverino, who had to make some quick steering action to obviously not collide into the back. Sven was finding a different kind of line, cutting half the track, being a lawnmower, as LC's troubles continue. Now, after the disaster, having the wing change, given a 3-second time penalty, and once he gets past Death Star, who's obviously the ghost of Death Star, it's quite a lonely race.
Yeah, so he's honestly just a point finish would be nice, and potentially even looking at getting the fastest lap point, because stealing the fastest lap point.
There it is.
Yeah, as we see him there across the line, 136 to take that fastest lap point. So, yeah, it's not his day. He came off that. I mean, it is a surprise. Well, I'll say a surprising win in Canada with that last-minute hailstorm that came out of nowhere, and LC just being there at the pits to be able to come out and overtake both Nemesis and Povey for a last-lap win, essentially. So, yeah, it's coming off of that. I mean, and this not being a pad-friendly track, it's just not LC's weekend or week, we should say. It just hasn't been LC's week. But hopefully the grass is greener on the other side, and that other side being the tasteful Bahrain, where we're going to have some hopefully very competitive racing there next weekend.
Yeah, and as a member of Team Pad for LC, he probably knew going into this that it was a damage limitation. Obviously, there needs to be some more damage limitation coming up because he's currently. We'll see where he comes out in terms of Cameron pitting. He might have someone to battle with at least.
Yeah, even then, excuse me, Cameron Slater is going to have a huge tire advantage as LC's tires are, I believe, 15 laps old now. We'll go ahead.
Well, he pitted, didn't he?
Take a look. Oh yeah, he did pit. He did pit for the new medium. So, I mean, he will. Yeah, it's not as bad as I was thinking. Forgive me in my memory, but I guess we go ahead and take a look at the time penalty situation. Really, the only one inside the points right now with penalties is going to be LC and Queasy Pluto. Yeah, so that 3-second time penalty too with Death Star's Ghost. Being able to keep up with LC for now might end up coming back to bite him. And we also have Cameron Slater making progress as well, though we should note that Cameron Slater does have 6 seconds of time penalties. So, yeah, it's definitely not LC's weekend.
You've got decent recovery as well for Isuf after his spin early on, getting back into P8 and hoping he gets. There's some more incidents in front of him, as we've seen already, trying to get as many points as he can. Obviously, be disappointed being in P8, but not doing too badly, or what could have been at the start.
Yeah, it's starting to get into the more quieter stages of this race now. Not too much going on. Right now, our closest battle between drivers is going to be Gloverito and Spin Wolf. Spin able to retake his position after spinning out in coming out of the spoon curve there, where Gloverino had to take evasive action to avoid any kind of damage as Spin just started unghosting at that time. But yeah, it doesn't seem like Gloverino's able to make any kind of progress now. In fact, he's kind of dropping back a little bit. He's going to be out of DRS range by the time they get to that start-finish straight there. So things are starting to settle down now. I think, I don't want to call it too early, but there's not going to be much more to look out for aside from this Queasy Pluto, Povey, and Quimulus battle, I guess, with time penalties.
Everyone had to go and spin, didn't they? LC and Povey, they had to go and spin near on the same lap as well. Obviously, LC might have even felt bad. Yeah, they've really put a dampener on this race.
Yeah, it's taken out of the visual excitement, but I guess all we can do is just hype up Bahrain for next weekend. And
yeah, it's gonna be a great one. Everyone tune in.
Yeah, it really will be. It really will be. For those who missed the for those who missed the All-Star race, it was a pretty exciting race. Although granted, that one was 100%. But it was still pretty exciting in the end. Just LC needs to keep his front wing out of Brinchill's car, and then it should be LC's for the taking.
And a big shout out to everyone who put the calendar together as well, because we've got quite a stellar end to the season track-wise, haven't we? So next we've got Bahrain, which is probably one of the most race tracks, at least on Xbox. We've been there for 2 All-Star races every season, Squiffs. So yeah, watch out for the helmets next week. We'll try and showcase as many as we can to see who's running a Swiss tribute. We know Povey probably will. I think Quimblus has always been one to run it as well.
Yes.
So we'll give a shout out to them. And then France is a newcomer to the calendar for this season. Not obviously, no one will know this apart from Xbox people. We raced there for the evaluation race in season 3. I think it was season 3.
I believe that's.
I think I was in.
No, it's
I was involved.
4. It was in season 4, where we raced there, I believe.
Well, we've done it. So
yeah, we've done it. Basically, we've done it.
People obviously.
Some
people know it.
It's good racing. Yeah.
Apart from just a key, Issa was quite bad there. It was so much that we put him in Div 2 mistakenly because of how bad he did at France, and then just ending it with Austria, which is obviously a very, very popular track, and somewhere that, mentioning Issa again, won there last season in Div 1.
Yeah.
Only Div 1 win. And then ending it with the classic Brazil, which is my personal favourite. Have the lowest finisher. I think it's either 5th or 6th in Div 1. And obviously have one of the largest pole gaps in FRS history in Div 2. After being the only one to actually set a lap on the dries and everyone else was on the inters, casually on pole by like 6 seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely very popular tracks, especially for real life Formula 1 racing as well. So as we have... Oh no.
Oh
no.
Oh,
Elsie. I think he's just... Oh, and he has front wing dam. I see an end plate there on the ground. And so he's going to have to limp this car all the way back. And
I don't think he'll retire. I feel like he's one not to retire. He'll probably put some softs on and get a fast slap.
Yeah, and he's not going to be able to... he's not going to be able to get that fast. He's not going to get points this weekend. I mean, that's just what it is.
Well, you never know. It's not the realms out of possibility, because let's face it, Death Star's not in this race. So he's in P11. So it only takes one more retirement, and then he's in the top 10. So maybe give him a fast lap point as well. You never know. I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can, but you never know. The gaps are starting to close down. Povey is right behind Queasy Pluto now, so the gaps are starting to get closer. Well, one gap. All I'm saying is, don't give up, Elsie. Don't retire in the pits. And if he does retire in the pits, I hope someone does retire.
It is. I will say it is amazing that we haven't seen any kind of retirement yet. We have seen some spins that were predicted, but no safety. Oh no, Elsie.
We don't know if he's rage quitting. To be fair, we see it a fair bit. No, he's just speeding in the pit lane.
Oh no, that's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
I mean, we've had this whole broadcast as probably this. Oh Jesus Christ!
My, he just
that kind of felt like a let by, like please don't race me, kind of thing. That was quite weird.
That was very sketchy. I will say that was pretty scary.
I'm not sure what happened there. It got him DRS though. I don't think it'll do much.
Yeah.
But all Queasy Pluto has to do is just maintain the gap behind Quimblus, and as a maiden podium in second. Is it second or third race? Did he start in Canada, or was it the race before?
I'm checking the standings now. It looks like this is he started in Belgium. He took a points finish in Belgium. But yeah, this will be a great finish for him. A huge podium, and he definitely he surprised me certainly, qualifying that high among these drivers.
It was impressive.
On the mediums?
It was probably the most impressive.
Yeah,
I'd probably say it's the most impressive lap, if you're being like out of the normal. So yeah, it was good, and he's still in the DRS range of Povey. Povey's not exactly driven away from him.
Yeah, and those tires there that Queasy have too. I mean, they're probably going to hit a cliff here within the next couple of laps. But yeah, it has been a very brilliant drive from Speedy Boy Queasy Pluto this weekend. So yeah, big shout out to him. And as he's maintaining that gap to Quimblus, it looks like Quimblus is falling back about a second 7/10 a lap or so.
And we should also give a shout out to the comeback kid, literally. Issa is nearly in the DRS range of Glavarino. He was 4 seconds behind, and now has found himself just so close, just on the cusp of finding the DRS. As Queasy Pluto is just not going away from Povey.
Yeah, this is pretty curious. We can see
it makes the whatever happened on the overtake even weirder. Like,
yeah,
he clearly had the pace to at least go with the gap, and it kind of just looked like he moved out the way. I know that Povey has that effect on people. It's like, don't race me, please. I know that every time I'd race Nemesis or Povey on the rare occasions, I'd be like, I shouldn't be here. Please don't hurt me. So yeah, it just happened, and Issa, if he can maintain the gap for the whole lap, will find himself some DRS.
Yeah, so it's brilliant return drive from Issa. He had that early spin, along with spin as well, as we saw him spin. And
that was like a half spin.
Yeah, okay.
He took a joke lap.
Okay.
He did a joke lap basically. He was like, "I'm too fast for all these guys. I'll give them some kind of advantage."
But yeah, so it'd be great recovery drive from Issei. And weird stuff going on with Queasy Pluto ahead there, but and also Quimbulus kind of flying under the radar as it looks.
Brinchel again.
Brinchel's the wrong way around.
Another one who'll be wishing, let's just go to Bahrain, even though technically he has probably got a point at the moment. And as he spun again, LC's like, wait for me, as he gets lapped by his teammate. I'm not sure how long he's been lapped by Nemesis, but that's what he has been lapped.
Yeah, as Brinchel's still just struggling there. As we're gonna ride on board with Issei and see if he's gonna be able to make a move come of this. As we can see, both of these drivers abusing their batteries with no DRS left.
He's got a good run. Sometimes you just got to go for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 2 laps to go. At one point you've only got like one realistic chance after you've got 1 lap after this, and there's not many chances on the lap. At what point do you just go, just send it? If we crash, we crash.
And if he's
what's going to worse happen? My hands are going to hurt from my wheel.
And yeah, if he's trying to expect Glavarino to make a mistake or force Glavarino into a mistake, it's not going to happen.
Quimbulus is out.
Oh.
Wait, I'm not sure that's my. Is that my timing, or is that? It's not my timing.
He's there. Yeah, he's in the wall. He's in the wall.
It looked like his brake pedal didn't work. He literally just drove flying straight on into the wall as I happened to spectate him, and
wow.
Yeah, it was just like a brake failure, just driving headfirst. It's a miracle he's got his tyres on.
Yeah,
but he's gonna drop loads of positions. Wow.
Yeah, he was on for a very good finish for P4.
Fourth, yeah, he's going to come 4th.
Yeah.
And now is obviously not got front wing. And yeah, he's going to have to pit. I mean, he's still got a pretty good gap to get out ahead of at least LC, even probably Brenchel, and get some points. But
yeah.
Being in 4th, and we've completely missed that it's the white flag sponsored by Credit One Bank.
As we ride on board for this final lap now. Issei a bit farther back this time to Glavarino, so it doesn't look like it's going to be
Could have gone for
happening.
That before.
Yeah, as he gets really close, and he gets a good run out of there and forces doesn't force, but spooks Glavarino to run a bit more wide and have Glavarino compromise his line. But, man, okay, so, yeah, I see Dan Gilligan in the chat saying that his wheel died in that he lost pedal input, so... I experienced that firsthand.
Really bad timing.
Yeah, man, second to last lap, and it's so early on too, having to hobble all the way back.
And he didn't choose to pit.
He didn't choose to pit. Yeah, he's just decided to stick it out, and he does have the gap to Brinchel, I would imagine.
Well, crucially,
and so he would take home points.
So Nemesis is let. I think Nemesis is let by LC Fighter to try and tone him down. As Nemesis wins.
Yeah, Nemesis wins. So
just a casual,
The the curse of Japan starting on pole continues now. So no one
big crash
has yet to carry.
Sorry, a big congratulations to Crazy Pluto on his first podium in
Yes.
FRS, as LC has stacked it again.
Oh boy, this just
And Istas as well on the final corner.
oh boy, this is just. I think we're all happy that that this race has come to an end. The drivers mainly are happy that this race has come to an end.
They started to get good at the end there. After they had a bit of a boring middle patch. Then everyone decided, oh dear, Povey, don't look in the Xbox Div 1 chat.
Okay, I will wait afterwards then to do that. Yeah, but Quimby finally comes across the line there as we wait for Brenchill, who's currently at 130R, and LC Fighter. Both these guys finishing out of the points. Both of them on the pad, so kind of hard to blame their performance. Yeah, hard to blame their performance as we see Brenchill just put it into the wall. So yeah. I don't know. It was an okay race. Not looking forward to having to go into the Div 1 chat and see what's going on there. But yeah, as LC finally crosses the line and passes Brenchill parked car there. So
Respect for not quitting though. Respect for that one.
Yes, absolutely. For sticking with both of those guys, both Brenchill and LC. As Spinwolf takes driver of the day. And of course that leads us into the natural question of Kim, who is your driver of the day?
Well, sorry, I was just watching Nemesis throw copies of the game at people in the crowd. Just like a frisbee, take that as someone's eyes get taken out by the sharp end. Yeah, but I'm gonna be boring. Do I be boring or not? I'm gonna go Queasy Pluto. First podium.
Okay.
First podium. Impressive qualifying for the mediums as well. So yeah, it feels like it was between Nemesis, because Nemesis obviously had quite a dominating win in the end. But yeah, Queasy Pluto seems like the rightful winner of the driver of the day for today.
Yeah, I'd agree. It would be between him and Nemesis for me. I think Nemesis, once he got past MJ, it was pretty evident that barring any penalties, any kind of spinning out from Nemesis, he just controlled the race from there on out. And even with LC doing the massive undercut, it still, I think Nemesis would have been fine without it too.
Keep up the pace.
Yeah,
he did well to keep up the pace and obviously get out in front of his teammate. We should also note from the standings that with Death Star being removed, that Crumbus is P9, and Brenchill's P10, and LC's 11th. So LC, the only person not to pick up any points, which is going to be it's going to be frustrating, obviously.
Absolutely. That's gonna hurt. I guess I guess him and Brenchill finishing down there at the bottom though is not gonna hurt the Aston Martin's World Constructors Championship campaign. They currently maintain a pretty healthy lead in the standings by 41 points to Williams behind. So, I mean, if you're gonna bin it, or not necessarily bin it, but if you're gonna have a poor week, then this was probably a good one to have it with your rivalries, with your rival team not having the best outing either. So,
and Cameron Slater, he won Team Pad this week by the looks of it. I'm pretty sure he's on Pad and P8. Yeah. He should get like a trophy. Can we organise a trophy for him? If one Pad winner, Japan. I feel like it's a deserved one.
We probably should, and just Pad and Wheel, and then just Nemesis and Povey, and those are the three divisions for Xbox Div 1.
And LC in qualifying.
Yes, of course, and just give one for LC for
not in the race, just in qualified.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll look into that and try and make it happen. But yeah, this has been AWD Turbo Guy alongside Kim for the Xbox Division 1 in Japan. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and we will see you guys for what is going to be a very delightful and competitive race in Bahrain next weekend.